In case you missed it, Fallout New Vegas 2 is actually coming, and it's being made by Obsidian with Josh Sawyer at the helm. All of this was reported yesterday by Jason Schreier, so let's talk about it. In case you missed it, and I'll keep this brief because to be honest there's not really a lot we know about this game as it is still early days, but Obsidian are now working on a new Fallout game. This comes following Xbox's push to refocus on their core IPs, which has also resulted in over 1,600 jobs unfortunately being cut from many of Xbox's studios, and a lot of projects that were being worked on being scrapped. For what we're focusing on today with Obsidian, and probably the biggest thing outside of the layoffs, is that Overhaul 2 has been cancelled. And although people are going to be happy about that, they need to remember the messy development that led to Avowed being what it was at release. It's an underbaked game, no doubt about it, but a lot of that comes from it originally being a multiplayer title, and when that was stripped out, the game wasn't fleshed out enough in other areas that it should have been in order to make it feel like a complete single player RPG. But with the cancellation of Avowed 2 and reprioritization going on, it means that Obsidian has now been given the Fallout IP to make a new game. Something that really should have been done a while ago, with how long the gap is between Fallout 4 and Fallout 5. We don't know much about what this new entry in the Fallout franchise is going to be at the moment, outside of the fact that it is being worked on and Josh Sawyer is apparently leading it. What's interesting about this though is that according to the Bloomberg article by Jason Schreier that broke the news, Josh Sawyer was working on a game that was thematically and structurally similar to the Fallout IP but wasn't a Fallout game. And depending on how far along in development this game had been, chances are we could be seeing this new Fallout entry sooner than some people might think. Similarly to how New Vegas filled the gap between Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 when Bethesda were making Skyrim, I think chances are we could see this game fill the gap between, again, Fallout 3, but this time it being Fallout 5 instead, whilst Bethesda are working on The Elder Scrolls 6. This would make sense, especially considering that the next entry in the Elder Scrolls franchise is still apparently 2 years off. And if the Fallout 3 remaster doesn't get pushed forward as a result of this series of refocusing, we could be seeing this new Obsidian Fallout game somewhere between 2 to 3 years from now. Is that a short time span? Yeah. Is it unrealistic? Probably. But a lot of this really comes down to, of course, how many ideas from the game Josh Sawyer was working on could be reused and tied into the Fallout universe, and how far along in development that game actually was. Although admittedly, if this is the case, I do feel bad for the guy, as this would be the second time he's worked on a new IP, just to have it end up being pushed into an already existing one. Like what happened with Interplay's cancelled Baldur's Gate 3 Black Hound. Of course though, probably the biggest question surrounding this game that you watching this are likely going to be concerned about is modding. Because modding has become a core part of the Fallout franchise at this point. So much that whether you like it or not, it's directly monetized via creations. But whether or not this game is moddable comes down to one really simple question. That being, what engine are they going to use for it? You see, if the game Sawyer was working on was far enough along through development, we could be seeing a completely different type of Fallout game. One that might not be made with the creation engine, and instead be using Unreal. Obsidian know their way around UE5. They've used some form of Unreal for basically every game since The Outer Worlds. And as far as developers for UE5 go, they do a more competent job than most, especially when it comes to making their games not look like UE5 games, if that makes sense. But this of course would lead to a dramatically different feeling Fallout game. Basically everything from the gunplay, movement and visuals could all be significantly different to everything that's come in the franchise beforehand. Is this a bad thing though? Well, even with the improvements made to Creation Engine with Starfield, the gunplay does feel somewhat outdated still. And I think this could be a good change. The melee combat in Avowed felt incredibly good, with the weapon hit feedback making them feel really strong to use. And the gunplay in the Outer Worlds was also really smooth as well. So if that came to Fallout, I know I personally wouldn't mind the change. And whilst Unreal Engine isn't unmoddable by any means, it is just nowhere near as friendly to modding as something like Creation Engine is. So although modding them isn't impossible, it's something that I don't think is going to be very likely to happen. as the extra resources required to develop modding tools and make the game with modability in mind when creating the systems would significantly shift development resources away from other aspects of the game. And with how Asha Sharma's been moving, she seemingly wants these out as soon as possible. Although if the game wasn't that far on in development, there's a non-zero chance we might actually see it in Creation Engine. What version of the Creation Engine though is the question. Is it going to be Starfield's Creation Engine 2, The Elder Scrolls 6's Creation Engine 3, or hell, even Fallout 76's upgraded version of Fallout 4's? Because honestly, the game doesn't look all that bad, and it has a lot of features that an Obsidian style Fallout game would probably want, like skill checks, condition systems, and crafting. If they do use Creation Engine though, it is gonna have creations, for better or for worse, which is gonna mean that there will thankfully be some form of modding tools for the game. Something that is a lot less likely to happen with an Unreal Engine Fallout game. The Creation Engine does have its perks despite how often people like to shit on it, and that is that it's really easy to make content in the engine. As far as game engines go, it's not all that hard to just pick up and start using, especially compared to some others out there. It's made specifically for the style of RPGs that the Fallout franchise has evolved into. So although a Fallout game not using it will feel weird, especially going from 3, New Vegas, 4 and 76, who knows, change might be what the franchise needed all along. Although it is possible that regardless of what engine the game uses, this is going to be a different Fallout experience. Obsidian haven't made a Fallout game in 15 years, and over that time their style of game has shifted dramatically. They've long abandoned the broad open world approach that they used in Fallout New Vegas, and instead use a sort of semi-open world structure with various hub zones for you to explore around. And although this might not be what every Fallout fan wants, it could be some form of return to the classics if that makes sense. Because the travel system from Fallout 1 and 2 could work really well with this sort of hub style system that Obsidian like to use nowadays. And it could mean that we're in for seeing a much larger scale Fallout game without necessarily being larger scale if that makes sense. We could be seeing significantly more regions than we could if the game was just locked to one location. Although there is one location we can probably be pretty sure won't be appearing in this game, and that's San Francisco, because pretty much everything is pointing to that being the location in Bethesda's Fallout 5. There's a lot of evidence pointing towards this, mainly Kellogg and the oddly placed Shiama paint jobs in Fallout 4's Creation Club. But also the fact that Obsidian had to remove a line from Fallout New Vegas that directly mentioned San Francisco. So that basically wipes out this area from being present in this game. But to be honest, with how little we know about this game, I mean we don't even know when this is going to be taking place. Is it going to be taking place after the show, so we have events like the destruction of Shady Sands and collapse of Caesar's Legion? Or is it going to take place before New Vegas, and focus on the events that ultimately lead up to the game, like what Fallout Van Buren was originally going to be? We'll just have to wait and see. However, there is also an equal possibility that this might not even be a new Fallout game at all. Obsidian have experience with Unreal Engine, which Virtuous Games and Bethesda are using for the Fallout 3 remaster, and they did use for the Oblivion one. We know that Bethesda are involved with whatever this new Fallout project is, and there have been rumours of a new Vegas remaster for a while now. Who better to head the remaster of the game than the lead designer? There's a lot of core pillars of the Fallout IP that are present at Obsidian right now. You have people like Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky who created the IP, although granted there's a chance that Tim Kaine could still be working on that new IP Obsidian were pitching. But other people like John Gonzalez, the creative director and lead writer of New Vegas, is still there, and of course Josh Sawyer, who was the lead designer of New Vegas. Not only would a New Vegas remaster obviously be quicker than developing a whole new game, but because of the TV show, we could be seeing a true New Vegas. One that matches the detail, scale, and everything else that ultimately had to get left on the cutting room floor in order for the game to run on the PS3. Probably also be the safest bet out of all options. It's a guaranteed moneymaker, and as for how modding support would be for this game though, we'll just have to wait and see. Oblivion Remastered is pretty dead in terms of modding, but Oblivion modding in general hasn't been all that popular since Skyrim released, and then released again, and again, and again. So for mods, we'll just have to wait and see. Me personally though, I would really hope that this is a brand new entry in the Fallout franchise. We desperately need one, and although both Fallout 3 and New Vegas do need a fresh coat of paint, it would be nice to have something new to experience in the franchise for once. But anyways, what are your thoughts on this news, and what would you like to see in Obsidian's next Fallout game? As always though, if you enjoyed, maybe consider liking or subscribing, but I hope to see you all next time.